Good morning, Los Angeles, and thank you for joining myself, Chief Michael Moore, Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, and other guests for our annual Crime Statistics press conference. Now, this is a little bit of a misleading title because this press conference has been for quite some years much more than just about crime statistics. It's really about the story of public safety. It gives us a chance to look back at the previous 365 days, to assess where we are at this moment, and also to look forward at where we're going, at the strategies and the people and the stories that will move this city forward to ensure the most basic of our human rights, that human right to safety. Safety in our homes, safety in our workplaces, safety in the neighborhoods that we love so dearly. This has been a year unlike any other, and we know that this year in so many ways has been an anomaly. And so there's a big star on everything that we talk about here today, in that we don't know if this year will just be a single year in its good news and bad news that's an outlier because of the extraordinary circumstances we're all living through, the way our lives have fundamentally changed, or whether or not it will be something that is a trend that we need to address, to be able to go continuing through whether it's good news to build on or bad news to reverse. So I put that star ahead just to, as I've done every single night as we speak of COVID, to give you the straight facts, the information, and to make sure that you also can see the context where that information comes from. Today, I'll be frank, it was a mixed year. Overall, we saw crime down, violent crime, Part 1 crime. But worryingly, we saw homicides, victims shot, grand theft auto, and assaults up. It was a year in which overall, if you're an Angelino, you were less likely to be a victim of crime, and yet more families than we've seen in a decade had the worst crime that affected their family, that of losing a loved one. Something that we see every single day, and as I've said, to put in perspective, we can't make these equivalent. Somebody dying of COVID-19, somebody dying of a homicide, both take away a loved one, as we've seen days that take away as many people from COVID-19 in a single day in LA County as we experience from homicides in a single year in the city of Los Angeles. But it's been a year that's been filled with courage, generosity, when the spirit of this city shone bright. And it's also been a year in which Angelinos challenged us to look at public safety and to build on the leadership that we've had, but to demand more, to make sure that we are truly protecting and serving, not just out of a police department, but out of a city government, and most importantly, at the neighborhood level, with those partnerships and with those co-leaders, demanding that we not put everything on the shoulders of those who wear badges, but that we each have a role, and that we rethink the resources that we put forward, some of the procedures that we have, the technology that we use to modernize and to make this the most just, livable city for everybody. And as I mentioned, this has been a painful year for all of us, not just because of COVID-19. Let me start with the statistics. Crime, again, as I said, is down overall. That's great news, and something that a lot of people worked really hard on in the most trying of circumstances. Property crime down double digits, 11.1%. Violent crime down 3%. Robberies down 17%. Part 1 crime, which includes sexual assault, burglary, and auto theft, is down 9.2%. And this is the third year in a row that we've seen decreases in those categories. So I say, as your mayor, to LAPD, to our neighborhood watches, to everybody involved in our gang intervention and youth outreach work, job well done. In those areas, you have proven yourself, and our strategy has been proven towards better crime stats than we've seen in decades. Don't forget that. But there's another part of the story, the numbers that are trending in the wrong direction. We saw an increase last year in two critical categories, with homicides up by 36.2% and victims shot by 41.4%. And while it doesn't change how serious and sobering these numbers are, LA isn't some sort of outlier. We're part of a clear national trend of over 40% in major cities increase in homicides. In fact, Chicago recorded more than 50% increase. New York City, it was nearly 40%. And a lot of people, I get asked all the time, ask why. I'm sure we'll get a couple questions from reporters today. There's been great folks from social scientists to journalists to activists who are trying to tackle that. And we never get clear and definitive answers because homicides are the result of many complex social forces. But ultimately, nobody knows for sure why this is happening. But we do know for sure over the last decade the things that we can apply to rises in homicide to try to bring those down. And I want to assure everyone I take this very, very seriously. We can't take steps back. We need to make sure that this year is an anomaly and not a trend. We have a solid foundation, the most hardworking and dedicated police officers, who I want to thank for one of the toughest years they have ever served. I know that they have heard things said about them, untruths to their face. They've been yelled at. They've had bottles thrown at them. We have demanded that they do better and be accountable always, just as we demand for ourselves. And yet they put on the uniform, showed up, solved crimes, protected our city, and I and our city are indebted. We've lost a little bit more than a handful of officers to COVID-19 this past year. And we have officers who right now are still hanging on. And those families who lost an officer in the line of duty because of COVID-19, my heart, our collective hearts, continue to be with you, to wrap our arms of love around that guardian who is not home now, to be with you. All of those officers were joined front and center by a community of public safety activists. Most of the time we see eye to eye, and we have some of the partnerships that are not just nation-leading, but world-leading in intervention, in new models of policing, in constitutional policing, and making sure that technology and policies and a culture all come together to ensure that people are safe and safe equally. The programs that have been designed to do this work, we know that we are increasingly realizing that we have put so much on the shoulders of our police officers that we can't expect police officers to handle every single emergency situation. There are roles and responsibilities we must share. For example, the therapeutic transportation pilot we announced a few months back that is ready to roll in the coming weeks. The idea is simply to dispatch mental health workers to some 911 calls to assist in nonviolent situations and make sure that folks get the clinical help that they need. The reason we call the police or the fire at 2 a.m. when somebody's experiencing mental health is because we have nobody else to call. That's a collective shortcoming of our society. And the County of Los Angeles, together with the City of Los Angeles, are stepping up to change that. The first big city in America to have that 24/7 shortly. Another reason I'm confident we're going to turn this around is our strong partnerships. Partnerships, first and foremost, with our City Council. Our City Council leadership, led by our President, Nuri Martinez, and a great chair of our Public Safety Committee, who you'll hear from in a minute, Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez. We also benefit from the free labor and the committed activism of our police commissioners. I think people think they're paid. They're not. These are citizens just like you who volunteer their time in one of the toughest jobs to take in some of the toughest heat, but also to address some of the toughest issues moving forward. And we're so pleased to have our newest commissioner, William Briggs, here today with us, and I'm indebted to him for his service as well. And then, of course, there's the partnership with you, everyday Angelenos, the community groups, the activists, the residents who demand more for their tax dollars, rightfully so. We may not always agree with one another, but we do know in this city how to listen to each other. And we come together around a common goal to create a safer and a more just city. These partnerships are so critical. And today we will highlight the work, the expanded work of our community safety partnership, something that started in our public housing developments and now has moved throughout the city to other public housing and non-public housing neighborhoods, where we're able to make sure that officers get to know the neighborhood deeply and vice versa. That on a first name basis, the young people of a neighborhood like San Fernando Gardens, which you'll hear about, South Los Angeles, other places, know the names of the police officer who works there, and vice versa, those police officers know the names of the young people who are there. And more than that, it deepens a model which shows us that yes, police officers can and are part of the solution, even as we build civilian partnerships and other work around that to make sure that public safety is everyone's responsibility. We know CSP is effective because before 2020, when our city's crime stats were lower than they had been in decades, our CSP sites saw an even greater reduction in crime than non-CSP sites. And I say this with much more than an anecdote. We have data, because I'm a big believer in data. A 5-year study of 2 CSP zones conducted by UCLA researchers found that more than 220 violent crimes were prevented, 220 murders, aggravated assaults, other violent crimes that didn't happen, that didn't devastate the lives of families. And the success is the reason we've expanded CSP to a bureau, to 6 new sites during my time in office, including to San Fernando Gardens last year. And it's also why we elevated the CSP model to a bureau, to institutionalize this model and to be able to pull from it the cultural elements that can touch all parts of this department as well. Today, all of our 10 CSP sites are under the command of Deputy Chief Amada Tingrides, who helped create this initiative back in 2011 and who's leading this effort alongside a civilian commander. When we created the Bureau in July, it was an important step towards reimagining elements of public safety here in Los Angeles. And we didn't know the full extent of the challenge that would lie ahead, as murders and shootings went up across this nation and here. But it's clear that we stood up this Bureau at precisely the right moment. And that we also expanded our GRID programs, a name that I think is becoming a little bit outdated, so hold tight for that. But our gang reduction, youth development, essentially our intervention and prevention programs, to put 40 more peacemakers on the streets to make sure that we could address this rise in crime. And Ann Tremblay, who's the director of our GRID program, working closely with Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez on the idea of more youth development and more youth investment, diversion for youth offenders, as well as these programs that help prevent crime before it happens and intervene when there's hot spots. This is a model of policing that, together with CSP, is rooted in trust. It's rooted in the idea we all share responsibility, that no one entity is singularly responsible for public safety, but all of us are. In closing, I want every Angelino to know that they can feel secure, that they should be able to have that right in their parks and streets of their neighborhoods, in the presence of those in uniform, that we have the keys to building those relationships, that we have a force that can take a record number of guns off the streets, that we have interventionists who have themselves had the lived experience that young people are going through when they come from broken homes and in tough neighborhoods. And it's worth knowing that that link between CSP and GRID, the first community safety partnership we had was in 2011 in Watts, where GRID had also just launched. We know that when you invest in relationships, whether it's an officer with a young person, whether it's civilians together with a police department, that these are the ways that we can stand up public safety. And lastly, though we never talk about this much in this press conference, the economy and the recovery of our economy is going to be absolutely critical, which is why I want to see and embrace the Council's work with me to expand youth jobs, even in the midst of a pandemic. I fully believe that some of the homicides we've seen that are up, talking to folks who are activists, they said there's not things for young people to do. And we've shown a model that we can pay with the summer jobs program that now goes into the full year, that young people can be occupied, can learn incredible life skills, can earn income to help support their families during these toughest of months. And we continue to plan to expand those summer jobs, which have gone from 5,000 to over 20,000 a year since I've been mayor. And we saw a 9% decrease this past year, I want to say 2 other things, in gang-related violent crime in our GRID zones as compared to 2019. And surging those ambassadors, dozens of peace ambassadors to communities that are experiencing the worst violence, and investing state funds in youth diversion programs to prevent young people from getting an arrest record, to reduce their future involvement with criminal justice system. We believe are those investments today that hopefully a year and 2 years and 3 years from now will continue, as I said, to make this year an anomaly and not a trend. Finally, let me close this year talking about, because we had thousands of people on our streets looking nationally at some of the worst abuses that we saw in other cities, which is not to say we have never had them visited here, but of those incidents where we see the badge being used to commit a crime and, at its worst, to take the lives of Americans. Los Angeles has led, and led for some time. By one calculation, we're about 92nd out of 100 in terms of per capita officer-involved fatalities. And it's a commitment that didn't come to us just this year as we saw thousands of people on our streets and hundreds of thousands across this country. It's something that's in the DNA of this city, of its city government, of its civilian oversight of this department, and yes, inside this department. which has implemented some of the first in the country policies, from our body-worn video and the release of that, to our de-escalation and implicit bias training, to the work that this commission did, some of the swiftest work in the country to implement in 2020 further reforms that will make Los Angeles a model. And we're not just interested in being a model, we're interested in saving lives. Los Angeles is the largest city in America to be in full alignment with the 8 can't wait slate of reforms to use of force policy. We are already fully compliant with 5 by the time the calls for racial justice hit the streets of America this summer. And those last 3 we had good progress on, but we finalized that, including a ban on chokeholds and strangleholds, requirements that officers exhaust all alternatives to deadly force and intervene against misconduct, and a prohibition on shooting at moving vehicles, as well as things like monitoring how many times somebody draws a weapon as a use of force so we can catch those trends. And I know Commissioner Briggs will speak to these steps in greater details, but all of these efforts are to build greater trust. We've seen this in polls this past year. People want to and do intend to trust their police officers, but need to make sure those policies and those practices are done as equally as possible. And that the police department should be spending its time, even in a lean budget year, on the things that are the core mission of this department. Why should we have officers spending 2 hours on minor fender benders to do the reports when those can be done online? Why do we have this Christmas tree of past councils and past mayors' pet projects that have never been unwound? And I want to appreciate not only Chief Moore and his command staff for really pruning that tree to make sure that we get back to the core of what this department is about, and that we move it forward to be that nation leader that LAPD has often been in the face of adversity. And I want all Angelenos, especially in our communities of color, to build that trust. That's my goal in the next few years. Judge me on that in 2 and 3 years, that if we can establish that trust in a department that is itself incredibly diverse and often coming from the very communities that they police, then Los Angeles will be in good hands for the next decade ahead. So let me turn it over to my partner in work, Chief Moore. Sorry, he's going fourth. He knows the. Let me turn it over to Monica Rodriguez. None of this work is possible without an extraordinary council, and within that council, without an extraordinary councilwoman, who herself comes from a family of public safety. Her father was a firefighter. She sought this post and does a beautiful job, not only thinking about how to implement policies, but how to push new visions of public safety in her district and beyond. We're indebted to her for her citywide leadership. Councilwoman and Chairwoman Monica Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Garcetti and Chief Moore, for inviting me to join you here today. As the mayor indicated, overall, we're looking at a trend in the right direction with respect to crime in the city of Los Angeles. It's with respect to our homicides and our shootings that we have tremendous concern. And it is a circumstance that is not just being experienced here in Los Angeles, but as the mayor indicated, a national trend that unfortunately we are all experiencing across the country at cities that are no different than Los Angeles. And these parallels are problematic. But just as we've overcome these circumstances in the past, I am confident that together with our community and our Los Angeles Police Department, that we will be in better position again. These are not just statistics. Each tragic event represents a trauma experienced at a time when hundreds of thousands of families have been devastated by the impacts of COVID-19. Now more than ever, our communities need to trust and have faith in public safety response, regardless of their zip code. This time calls for innovative and bold solutions in forging a path for efficient and equitable investments to achieve our shared public safety goals at a time our city is facing some of the most dire financial situations it has ever seen. For every dollar we invest, we need greater accountability for the costs associated with all city services, and including public safety. What is clear to me is that we cannot continue to police ourselves out of the complex, interconnected issues that are facing our neighborhoods. By using these data-driven approaches, we can address the root causes of these spikes and implement the solutions that directly address these causes, diverting roles and responsibilities that have been placed on LAPD to better suited professionals. We give our officers increased capacity to do the roles that they themselves prepared for. The Los Angeles Police Department has come a long way in the last 20 years, working to improve its policies, practices, and policing models that implement reform. And it is paramount that we ensure that these reforms are measured for success and recognize that we can always work to be better. As we learned from the efforts, such as the Community Safety Partnership, we can build community trust and involvement to reverse trends on shootings and violent crime. Working together with residents to police and address problems early before they become insurmountable or violent. Ensuring that youth have access to a wide array of constructive activities and resources is crucial for creating a safer city and a more prosperous city for us all. Working together, we must forge a path for efficient and equitable investment in achieving our public safety goals, which is the centerpiece of the work that I will be leading on our Public Safety Committee as chair. And I want to thank you, Mayor, Chief Moore, Commissioner Briggs, for your participation in this work, and of course, Ann Tremblay, for your continued partnership and collaboration during these extraordinarily difficult times. I am confident that together with our collaboration and working with members of our community to create better responses and addressing the root causes of where we are seeing this spike, this year will in fact be an anomaly. Thank you, Mayor.
Next, we'll have Commissioner and Vice President of the Commission, William Briggs, step forward. I want to thank him again for his extraordinary service on an extraordinary year.
Thank you, Mayor Garcetti, Chief Moore, Councilmember Rodriguez. I really appreciate the honor that you've bestowed upon me to have trust that I could serve the city of Los Angeles in the capacity as a police commissioner. And I take this responsibility with a heavy dose and sense of deep community responsibility, particularly in light of the death of George Floyd this past summer. I understand that as a result of the death of George Floyd, the Police Commission made a significant promise to the community and to all citizens of Los Angeles, and that was they wanted to work to heal the wounds of our community by reimagining a more socially just and thoughtful future for policing. Some of the things that the Police Commission did was to begin to hold a series of meetings with the community. And during those meetings, to the surprise of the Commission, the community members reaffirmed their desire to participate and with members of the police for public safety and also to implement some reforms. Some of those reforms and suggestions that came out of it that have been implemented by the Police Commission are, we have now banned the carotid restraint chokehold in training and in practice. We've developed and implemented and revised in-custody death adjudication protocols, and we have permanently discontinued the use of the Cow Gang database, which was determined to be ineffective at best. We've also made urgent revisions to the LAPD's use of force policy, which now requires officers who intentionally point their weapon at someone to report it. And it requires officers who observe another officer who uses unnecessary force to be reported to their supervisors, and the other officer must intervene to prevent that unnecessary use of force. And our commission is fully committed to the community safety partnership and other programs that empower neighborhoods to co-own public safety. Like the mayor said, this is a vital pillar of how we can, should, and will build bonds of cooperation, trust, and partnership with members of the community and the police force. Under the mayor's leadership, the city has been ahead of the curve in reforms. We have mandated training in implicit bias. We have mandated training on de-escalation for every officer. In fact, every officer is now required to undergo 8 hours of training in de-escalation techniques and strategies, use of non-lethal force, and other harm reduction strategies. And we have established nationally recognized programs to develop long-term relationships between youth and police officers. As Councilmember Rodriguez pointed out, that is something that is going to be instrumental in helping divert the youth from participation in gangs and other activity that would cause them to encounter the police force, but not in the way that they want to. As a new member of the commission, I want to say this. We understand that we can do more, we must do more. We have to take a harder look at ourselves, how to make the city safer, while also implementing some of the reforms that the citizens want. We not only want to have a more effective department, but we also want to be able to ensure that the brave officers who are out there putting their lives on the line have the tools that they need to do their jobs properly. And finally, we want to root out systemic inequities wherever they exist and build Los Angeles that is fair, just, and secure for Black Angelenos, for Latinos, for Asian Americans, for all of us. Thank you. And now I present Chief Michael Moore, who I've just gotten to know, but who's become a very good friend in the interim.
Thank you. So thank you, Mayor Garcetti, Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, Chair of our Public Safety, our Gang Reduction Youth Development Director, Ann Trimbley, Commissioner Vice President Commissioner William Briggs. Thank you, sir, for stepping into this post at such a critical time in our history as a public servant. Their attendance here today is to express their continued support of our people, as well as the people of Los Angeles, during what is unarguably one of the most challenging times in our lives. There is no mission more important to our city or more central to LAPD than keeping the people of Los Angeles safe. I also want to welcome Pakoimer Charter School Assistant Principal Augustin Mena and thank him for his continued partnership in the inaugural year of the San Fernando Gardens Community Safety Partnership. In regards to my remarks today, I want to frame, as our previous speakers have, as Mayor indicated, about the men and women of this department. Every day, our people put their lives on the line to protect and build relationships with the communities that they serve. And while striving to meet the high standards of justice, equality, and fairness, they do their work in a courageous, life-affirming, and life-saving manner. In my remarks today, I had intended to frame the year just completed, including reforms pursued, as well as our crime picture across the city. There is a booklet that's available at LAPD online. Members of the media have been provided it. I would ask you to, and refer you to it for more information beyond just a snapshot of crime. The challenges, our work reimagining public safety, the development of alternative services, our continued commitment to community policing, effective training, enhanced technologies for improved effectiveness and efficiencies. We started 2020 with crime levels at record lows, a workforce that was building on earlier success and a commitment to continued reforms. As spring broke, we mobilized our department to help our communities manage a historic public health emergency, this COVID-19 pandemic. A pandemic in which, while preparing my remarks earlier, I had listed 5 of our people who had lost their lives, as well as numerous family members, and nearly 2,500 of our men and women who've been infected, with nearly 700 still recovering. Tragically, just before we started here today, I learned that we lost our 6th member, Southeast Patrol Officer Phil Sordoro. Phil leaves a wife, Jonah, 2 adult sons, Joshua and Jacobs, and a daughter, Vasilia, who turns 16 next week. We mourn his loss as well as those of the others, and I'm grateful for their service and sacrifice to this city. During this pandemic that we've all gone through, LAPD has been reimagined, and that we stood up and moved forward despite the dangers to our personal safety. And with the lack of other alternatives, we provided shelter protection at numerous sites for people experiencing homelessness. We supported outreach for those that were vulnerable in encampments. Our people protected essential businesses and acted to curtail dangerous, non-essential businesses that further threaten public safety, all while supporting the city's establishment of massive testing sites. As summer began and in the aftermath of the tragic death of George Floyd, our profession became the focal point of a local and national reckoning on social and racial injustices and calls for police reform. Our people strived valiantly to facilitate and protect peaceful marches and demonstrations, while also restoring order and arresting those engaged in violence and property destruction. Facing public scrutiny amidst widespread protests and demonstration that at times turned violent and destructive, our city leaders and this department announced our commitment to reimagining public safety. The Mayor, Board of Police Commissioners, our City Council, and this department reaffirmed our commitment to 21st century policing and accelerating reforms in accountability, transparency, seeking to improve and strengthen public trust. And following the onset of the pandemic and its impact on every social institution and economic support, our city, like has been said, others across this nation, experienced a troubling surge in homicides and shooting violence, with the highest concentration of that violence in our most vulnerable communities. Regarding our crime picture in 2020, overall we did see a 9% reduction in crime, largely achieved as many people stayed home, the closure of many businesses, restaurants, and entertainment venues. This reduction amounted to more than 12,000 fewer crimes, with nearly a 12% reduction in property crime and a 4.7% reduction in violent crime. Every category down, with the exception of homicides, aggravated assaults, and auto theft. In examining the underlying influences in these categories that did increase, we saw increased street gang violence, with 55% of our homicides being gang-related and a year-over-year increase of 42% in gang homicides. Our increased violence within our homeless community, with a year-over-year increase of 11% in violent crime and 65 victims who were experiencing homelessness lost to homicide compared to 41 the year before. This represents a 58% increase, with just over 1 in 5 homicide victims in 2020 being a person experiencing homelessness. Our job in impacting these increases has been made harder by the pandemic and its impact on every social institution. The isolation, sense of hopelessness, and inability to quell disputes, and ready access to firearms, along with a justice system that has been severely impacted, has removed many levers that over the last decade has been effective. They were referenced today in the reduction of homicides and shooting violence. We are especially appreciative of Mayor Garcetti and Mr. Tremblay's efforts to bolster the ambassador program within the GRID office. The added funding, which provided for more than 40 additional non-law enforcement peacekeepers to be on the ground and in our neighborhoods most impacted by gang violence, has been crucial. Our people have also responded to these increases by pursuing those responsible for the double-digit increases. We saw more than a 35% increase in the number of arrests of people carrying guns. And while we saw the availability of guns increase substantially, vehicle stops were reduced 27%, yet a 57% increase in number of guns stopped, or number of guns recovered. So as vehicle stops became fewer, the ratio of actually recovering a gun and finding a firearm on a person involved in gun violence increased. I believe that speaks to the efforts of our people to be more surgical and precise as they go about their proactive work. And it also speaks to the ready access of firearms throughout our entire community, which I believe also is fueling this increase in gun violence. During all this, we've also stayed fully committed to community-based initiatives such as the Watts Gang Task Force and Ceasefire, recognizing we need everyone in our community to be part of reducing the violence and saving lives. Simultaneously, we've remained committed to staying invested in our community engagement and outreach. We've established the Community Safety Partnership Bureau to ensure that the nationally recognized neighborhood-based policing model delivers consistently across all 10 neighborhoods, as well as exploring how to take the very best attributes of the program into other department work such as our gang, vice, and narcotic details. This past year, we saw a 7% reduction in violent crime in our 10 neighborhoods with fewer arrests and increased trust between our people and the neighborhoods they are serving. We're thankful to Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez for her enthusiastic support in establishing the 10th site this past year in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. You and your staff have been crucial in being a partner in ensuring that this latest CSP effort meets the needs of the residents of the San Fernando Valley. We'll be hearing more about this program in a few minutes with remarks by the Assistant Principal, Augusta Mena. Now, as we move into 2021, we're committed to focusing our resources on reducing gun violence and continue community engagement in those neighborhoods most impacted by this senseless violence and loss of life. We have realigned this organization to continue staffing in our geographic areas, as well as investigative units focused on gun violence. We're working with the U.S. Attorney, our District Attorney, and federal law enforcement partners to expand our resources and commitment to hold those accountable who commit the violence, and also those responsible for putting the guns in the people's hands. Additionally, delivering 21st century policing and building trust also requires the relentless pursuit of further reforms that Commissioner Briggs identified, while ensuring our recruitment efforts build on our workforce diversity, effective training that meets the needs of today, and enhanced technology for improved effectiveness. These initiatives include investing in critical mental health training, establishing a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer charged with developing a plan of action that builds on the department's efforts to ensure our internal culture, as well as our work in our communities, represent fair, impartial policing. Also, we've aggressively identified alternative services to better focus our finite resources. We've begun referring more calls to our county 211 service, as well as city's 311 services, in place of a police response. Additionally, we've moved more investigations to online reporting to reduce the burden on community members waiting for an officer to arrive, and to save tens of thousands of hours of our people's time on investigations in which an on-scene response provides little value. We've also continued to support the City Council and Mayor's Office in their development of non-law enforcement first responder resources that will allow us to redirect thousands of more instances involving homelessness, mental illness, and minor disputes when a properly trained professional can respond in place of a police officer. In closing, over the many decades, our department has endured challenging moments and embraced the challenges required, as well as the changes required to evolve to meet the needs of the public's expectations for public safety, while our motto, to protect and to serve, and 6 core values remain our guiding North Star. With the arrival of the COVID-19 vaccine, I'm confident 2021 will bring many improvements and a brighter day. As we emerge from this pandemic, the men and women in this department are committed to the shared responsibility of public safety. As I stated earlier, there is no mission more important to this city or more central to LAPD than keeping the people of Los Angeles safe, and we're committed to doing just that. At this point, I'd like to introduce a friend, a colleague, and a critical member of public safety here in Los Angeles, and that is the Director of the Gang Reduction Youth Development Office of the Office of Mayor Garcetti, Ann Trimbley.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your steadfast leadership and support of GRID's community-led approach to public safety. Thank you, Councilwoman Rodriguez, for your leadership in public safety and youth development. And to Chief Moore, we truly appreciate you and all of the department's collaborative and supportive approach to our work. We've heard a lot over the last several months about 3 public health crises we face as a nation: COVID-19, racial injustice, and gun violence. Under Mayor Garcetti's leadership, we are working collectively to address all 3 through innovative policies and programs that meet the urgency of this moment. The GRID office staff and the community-based providers that we support and fund are working daily to counter the disparate impact of all 3 on the communities we serve in our 23 grid zones, which include those 10 community safety partnership sites. GRID takes a comprehensive approach to addressing violence by delivering prevention, intervention, youth development, and youth reentry and diversion services that are community-based, culturally proficient, family-centered, and data-informed. The Mayor's GRID office has institutionalized a public health approach to violence reduction in our city, as seen through our research and evaluation that's integrated into the development and delivery of services. In fact, our research team, led by Cal State LA, recently released 6 research briefs detailing GRID's impact on our city, and at least 2 more will be published by late spring. Relationships with the LAPD have evolved and strengthened over time. The creation of formal partnerships, with each partner knowing and understanding the other's role, have replaced historically difficult relationships between police and gang intervention workers. Most importantly, GRID's work relies on community-based organizations, including staff with lived experience that incorporate community voices. And by listening to these voices, we have created systems that promote the delivery of consistent, intentional, and effective services in the communities that need them most. Last March, Mayor Garcetti, with the support of Chief Moore, was among the first leaders in the country to deem intervention workers as emergency responders and to define prevention and intervention staff as essential workers in his first Safer at Home order. Our community-based providers answered the mayor's call. Despite the incredible challenges of last year, GRID provider staff continued to make a difference for our youth, families, and neighborhoods. While the number in youth and families served by GRID decreased due to reduced opportunities for outreach and direct connections during COVID, providers still served over 6,000 youth and their families, and the amount of contact and case management hours provided actually increased. Our gang community intervention workers, including the peace ambassadors added last fall as we saw homicides rise, responded to 722 violent incidents, shootings, stabbings, and shots fired. Intervention workers did not let up on their outreach in the neighborhoods or their efforts to foster peace between rival gangs. They continued to engage youth and young adults with support services. In fact, despite COVID-19, proactive peacemaking hours by intervention workers increased by 15% over 2019 to nearly 100,000 hours. Almost 7,000 of these hours were related to COVID-19 education and outreach, including the distribution of PPE to vulnerable community members. Also, over a third of community activities that both gang prevention and intervention conducted in 2020 were focused on and in direct response to COVID-19 and the racial justice protests. Providers conducted public health education. They distributed food and much needed economic support to families. And they supported our 66 Summer Night Lights grab-and-go events, all in addition to their core work. Last year, we continued to expand services to youth in need by relaunching our youth reentry program with LA County Probation. And as the mayor just discussed, using grant funds, we launched a youth diversion program at 3 LAPD divisions, Southeast, Rampart, and Hollenbeck. Both programs are key to systematically and permanently ensuring the needs of young people are met in their home communities by folks who understand them rather than by the traditional justice system actors. Our vision for GRID's community-led approach to public safety is not just the absence of violence, but the presence of peace and justice to realize our collective goal of healthy, safe, and thriving communities for all youth and families. This is why we will persist in this work and continue to strengthen our commitment to proven, neighborhood-based strategies that will make this vision a reality. It is now my privilege to introduce Assistant Principal of Pakoimer Charter School, where he's been for 18 years, Augustin Mena, who's been a tremendous partner with our CSP program at San Fernando Gardens.
Good morning to all. Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor Garcetti, and our Chief Moore. And thank you to their CSP officers at San Fernando Gardens that give me the opportunity to speak for our community. I feel very proud of the program. I just want to let you guys know that I heard trust a lot in the speeches, and that is one of the key words that makes our program so effective with our community. 3 words I also want to share are care, compassion, and humility. Those 3 words are what our CSP officers are about. They're always out there caring about our community members. They have compassion, they listen, and lastly is humility. They have a uniform, but underneath they are the same as everybody else in our community. From the very beginning, we started meeting and we felt that the CSP would have a positive impact in our community, and it has, very much so. We're seeing that they show that we can trust them, and they have not let anybody down to this point. One thing is that the selection of the CSP officers for our community was a very thorough process. We were involved with meetings from the very beginning, and they chose members that easily identified with our community and knew their needs very well. They take the time every day, whether it's on foot patrol, walking, or at our school site, to listen, to gather information from our community members and know what the needs are for them. And as a result, we've seen quite a lot of increase in our community communication. They help us by solving issues ahead of time that may happen in the gardens that therefore are not carried on onto our campus at school. Also, they know how to meet the personal needs of our community members. They gather information again, and they meet with our social workers and provide resources that are valuable to our community. Some of those resources and services they have provided have been distribution of school supplies to our students, helping us with distribution of technology. They have provided vaccines to our community. They have distributed toys, and are constantly working at our school, helping us out, distributing meals to our community. And with all that, we have seen a drastic decline in violence in our community also. Another thing is, with COVID coming along, it really changed everybody. And nonetheless, their tactics have not changed. They continue to communicate and meet the needs. If they know there is a child falling behind in the school, or if they know there's a child that has certain emotional needs, they communicate with us. We were always working together. They help us doing our home visits to our schools, our home visits to our houses, and they also sometimes provide an easier transition or communication with our family members. And lastly, I want to go back to trust. With the trust that they have built with our community, it's very important because back in the days when DARE was around, they worked with kids. Our CSP officers work with kids. Therefore, it's providing the scaffold for our future generations to continue that trust with our CSP officers, continuing their care, their compassion, and the humility. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak today.
One last statistic I want to share with you too, because it was so much a part of what this year was about nationally, is officer-involved fatal shootings, which were down to 7. That was a decrease from 12 the previous year, down from a peak of 115 30 years ago. but just in the last 5 years, 6 years, we've seen a decrease of over 80%. Now, we don't equate all incidents the same way. Some of those shootings will occur in a city of 4 million people. For instance, I forget if it was this past year or the year before, I remember an incident when someone was stabbing his wife, had a gun, and use of force is, of course, going to be necessary to save lives. But I'm very proud of our officers' work. I'm proud of our commission's work. I'm proud of our council and our administration's work to really focus that, because that has been much of the focus of what we see on the streets of America. And to be able to have that be certainly the lowest I've ever seen, nearly, when you think about 1990, it was 1,500% higher. And just in the last 5 years, we've seen that decrease, as I mentioned, by over 80%. I'll come back and say words in Spanish, but we've been speaking long enough, so let me turn it over to Kevin, who's representing the press today for questions. Thanks for being here, Kevin.
Thank you. It's a bit of a departure for public safety with the gate, but it's sort of the day. What is your understanding of how and whether Governor Newsom's expected announcement today regarding COVID-19 restrictions will play out in LA County and in LA City? And what is your position on what should happen?
Like many things, we learn about this as quickly and as suddenly as the public does. I think it's my expectation that he is just saying, before everybody thinks it's lifted everywhere in California. Remember, after we had the closures at the state level based on their colored tier system, and we were in purple, and by the way, remain in purple, they overlaid on top of that a stay-at-home order. So remove that, and that purple tier is still here. So it's my expectation that hasn't changed from the state, so things like outdoor dining and others are not suddenly thrown open in this county. Until we get those numbers down. We've had some encouraging numbers in the last week. Like I said, 3, I think, out of 4 days under 10,000 cases. Still very high historically. Still numbers that are 6 to 7 times more hospitalizations than what we had just a month and a half ago, but the right trend. So if that continues to accelerate, whether it's fewer tests being required, fewer cases, a lower positivity rate, fewer hospitalizations, we could see that accelerate, but I don't expect it to happen today, and that's my understanding. But I'm anxious to be briefed with more details as well from the state.
I will repeat this question when the chief comes
Sure.
up. But with budget restrictions, looming layoffs potentially, a reduction in rank and file officers on the street, the chief has said this couldn't come at a worse time with violent crime trying to get out there on the streets. The police union has said similar. Do you think that the department is adequately resourced to implement impactful changes that will reverse the trends seen last year and in the first month of this year under the current budget situation?
Yeah, and let me just correct one thing in the framing that's otherwise correct. Having fewer officers on the force does not mean fewer officers on the street doing patrol. And I think we've worked very hard to make sure. I don't want people to have the misimpression out there that there are fewer patrol hours. In fact, that's expanded historically and remains high. Some of the specialized units doesn't mean that they won't be doing work. I think it's also been reported like suddenly we're not going to go after traffickers. Of course we are, and we'll continue to. We have, though, folks who are spending, as I mentioned, 2-3 hours doing things that could get them back on patrol, doing the important work of addressing violent crime, and we're confident that we will be able to do that. I also want to say to whether it's union or officers or other proponents of more police officers, that this LAPD has gotten its fair share of a cut the way that every department in this city has gotten its fair share. Not that we look at that as some sort of punishment to departments we like and dislike. It's the toughest budget year of our lives. And we've seen that successfully with our civilian workforce. We've seen that with our firefighters. And I remain optimistic with our police officers. People understand a lot of people don't have jobs out there. Those that have jobs have reduced hours. But if we can all tighten our belts, we've led by example. I'm not taking my raises. In fact, I didn't take last year's. I'm donating back part of the salary that I have. Others are doing that to make sure that we can get through this year and sustain services. But I'm committed to making sure that this department does have the resources it needs to complete its job. As we reimagine public safety, you don't do that at the expense of public safety. And I reject the narrative that the cuts that this department faced, like others, somehow led to the numbers of the homicides. First of all, they came later in the year, and cities that didn't had higher homicide. So there's clearly a national trend, and I think we should dispense with that narrative. At the same time, we're being very careful, making sure that you have the patrols that you depend on, that we'll have a couple classes that build on the diversity of this department and build on the community connection of this department, and we'll continue to make sure this department does have that. Chief? And Councilwoman, feel free to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the reduction in our workforce that was implemented through a reimagining of the department this past summer, the organization spent the last 6 months looking top to bottom to how we would, in effect, prune down our operations. What specialized resources, what functions would we stop doing in an effort to ensure that we're staffing our geographic areas with the needed number of officers, that our gang details, our uniform patrols, our investigative units that are detailed on this increase in shooting violence are properly staffed. This is an organization that has had a finite number of resources. It's not a large organization, and so when you see an increase such as this, as a chief, I do say it couldn't come at a worse time as we're working through this. But we also know this pandemic has created circumstances that is no one's fault up here or in this city or in this country. That as we're working through that, we've all got to look at how we utilize our resources, how do we apply them for our primary tasks. I believe that's what we're doing. Angelenos are going to see a different Los Angeles, a different LAPD as we go into 2021, as we continue to curtail non-essential or less essential work so we can stay focused on the greatest point of public safety. And I'll close by saying I feel and confident that this mayor and this city council recognizes that the core function, the most basic responsibility of city government is public safety. And I'm committed to work with them, as our men and women are, to move forward with these challenging times and see a brighter 2021 with this arrival of this vaccine. The efforts with Ms. Tremblay's office, the efforts with our community-based organizations, the shared responsibility, it takes all hands. We should, as the mayor indicated, we should not look at this reduction that we've seen in the last 6 to 7 months as being a driver of this increase in violence. Because as he is correct, the reduction has occurred primarily in our academy, not in the field. Our field deployments have remained constant. And now we're just this next week, we'll be beginning to reshuffle about 200 personnel from inside specialized positions back into geographic areas to ensure that we are maintaining our staffing as we go into 2021. I am hopeful that the city is going to be able to avoid the layoffs that have been previously announced. I'm hopeful that much as the civil labor unions have made sacrifices and shared in this responsibility, I'm hopeful that all of us, sworn rank and file, as well as command officers and all of us, can look to this and understand what is our part. How do we lean into this moment to see this city through 2021 and beyond so that we can see this city recover from this pandemic, from the economic return that will allow the city to flourish as it has just prior to this year ago. Are
you saying that you hope that the police union comes back to the table and gives up or delays its raises? Is that what you were referring to?
So what I'm referring, and I'll let the mayor speak to the benefits, wages and benefits of our rank and file. But as an Angeleno, as a member of this organization for 4 decades, we are facing a pandemic whose economic impact on this city is unlike anything I've ever seen. And so with labor agreements, everything, that opportunity to step forward into that conversation has been at the request of the city council, the mayor, and I think it's a fair request. I'm hopeful that something can be done that allows us to move forward. I certainly need this department to be maintained and staffed at a level that can provide for public safety. This is a serious crisis that we're faced with, and we need to all seriously look at what our role and responsibility is in that.
And just briefly, so you don't have to keep spraying the mic.
Yeah, it's actually lavender.
Did you adequately anticipate the ways in which COVID-19 would change crime patterns, and were you frustrated that as it came upon, the responsibility came to you to shift gears and try to address that, you were simultaneously having to shift gears and try to restructure the department such that you could meet the requirements under the new budget?
No, I'm not frustrated. I think that I live for a moment like this. These are ships are not made for safe harbors. This is an organization that has taken on every challenge and has always risen to the occasion. It evolves, it adapts, it meets the needs it's been asked of. It's a privilege to be a chief at this time when you see, as Ms. Trimley indicated, the three challenges that we see as a society, as a democracy. These require thoughtful, reflective, and optimistic individuals. And I'm blessed to have a leadership team that keeps digging in and trying to find ways and identify how can we meet this moment? How can we demonstrate to the Angelenos building trust that we are here to protect and to serve, and that we understand that in the past, that how that is done hasn't always been in every community's desire or manner. So how do we adjust that? How do we, and at the same time, when we see issues of victimization increasing, we see shooting victims, how do we look to a shared responsibility of all of us digging in? So it's not a point of frustration, it's a point of commitment, of being dedicated to the task. We will press through this, and I believe we'll show the world why this is the Los Angeles Police Department and a 21st century police department. Thank you.
In terms of the labor question, if I can just follow up on that a little bit, I think none of us want layoffs. And layoffs are real in any department where we can't find the savings elsewhere. And it's not that we haven't done everything else first. We're exhausting 100% of our emergency reserve fund, 100%, which we built up over a decade. We're borrowing, essentially, to take some of our capital projects, building sidewalks and streets and things, out for many more years, putting that on a bit of a credit card. We've stretched to do single thing we can before we come to our employees to say, now what can you give? And I think it's a reasonable moment for the league and others to also to listen to us, and to their credit. By the way, you said come back to the table. We've never stopped talking. And whether it's them, firefighters, civilian unions, to listen to us, they all recognize how severe this is. And secondly, for us to listen to them. What are your needs? What can we do? We can't throw more money at it, but what can we do? Secondly, the second question you just asked, I think it's, again, if I can reframe it, if we were swimming in dollars, I think what we are pivoting towards is you don't just throw police officers at a problem. We're trying to figure out which police officers and what techniques are good, and what non-police responses work as well. And we've done that every single year. That's not new to people being on the streets. Things like GRID, CSP, which are joint partnerships, those things, youth diversion programs, those things are what we're trying to show is as responsible for bringing homicides as the number of officers. Third, when you look at using officers better, take, for instance, Metropolitan Division. There's no division that I know better and care deeply about them. Taking them off of the stops, as was mentioned, to do more of the old-fashioned detective work on cases has really resulted more weapons being taken off the street. It's a smarter way. And while we saw a couple folks being investigated doing stupid things that shouldn't sully an entire division, that is a smart use of some of our most elite, talented officers. So again, we always say, it's been kind of a dumb way. We talk both from the press and from government about policing. How many officers, how much in the budget? Well, all of us who manage know those are just the table stakes. And you can have as much money and as many people as you want and still be less effective than less money and fewer people used better.
Well, there's been some frustration from the other members of your administration, including on the police commission and in the police department, about that very conversation. Mm-hmm. And when you draw down the rank and file numbers, where else are you reimagining public safety? Where are you increasing services that would respond to scenes of mental illness or homelessness, right, or drug abuse with some different provider? Right. And the frustration from members of your administration is that while the reductions are occurring in the police department, there is not a commensurate increase in services elsewhere. So do you share that same frustration, and do you think that moving forward into 2021 there will be a commensurate rise in some alternative service provision?
Yeah, I detailed it. Hopefully you heard that in this press conference. Hopefully you heard it when we did it at Fire Station 4. That's a radical move to have 24/7 mental health call responses with clinicians, $20 million investment from the county, $2 million investment from us, in an entire city of 4 million people. D.D. Hirsch, and we are going to roll out on suicide prevention. Again, trained civilians who are there doing that. There's unity in this administration, first of all. And if you want to be specific, I'd be happy to address anybody where we say that there's not unity there. But we are going to do that with homelessness as well. We're deep into those conversations. And by the way, that builds on something that isn't new. DART, SART, GRID, CSP. Now, for everybody who isn't familiar with alphabet soup, excuse me for a sec because we're live with folks, sexual assault response teams, domestic abuse response teams. Under my administration, when they're saying, have we expanded these out? The domestic abuse response teams are now in every single division through the work of my wife, the work of myself, work of great people in my administration. Before, you didn't necessarily get a civilian in a domestic abuse call to help you get out of that situation, which meant that officers are going to come back each time, sometimes with tragic and fatal results. Until I became mayor, working with this council, we put that money in it, and now it's on every single police division instead of it being a lottery. Sorry, you're in Olympic, they don't exist, but over here in Rampart it does. The GRID expansion this year, we detailed that in this press conference, 40 additional ambassadors in a tough budget year, absolutely. The reduction, the diversion programs for youth, and we can get you the statistics there, and that's going to continue to expand, that Commissioner Goldsmith worked on and others, with really good numbers of the numbers of arrests that have gone down of young people, so that they've been diverted instead, and we need more county money to help us expand that, but I'm optimistic that happens. I mean, this is happening, and I hope nobody misses that story, because it's big, it's pretty radical out there, and it's successful. And the most radical part of it, it's embraced by people with badges on as much as it is by people without badges, because they understand that it works.
I take your point. I also would note that in some plans for reductions in the force, I think SART and DART teams were on that to be reduced, maybe not anymore.
No, and that's not under his responsibility, by the way. That's a non-police program, the DART funding and the SART funding.
And the van program that you spoke of is new.
Yep.
I've heard some criticism that it's a handful of vans. It's a great start, but not expansive enough to cover the entire city. So the purpose
it will be in all 4 bureaus,
the
to be
purpose
clear.
of my previous question is the level of alternative services where you want it to be to supplement where you see reductions in the rank and file?
Well, frankly, as mayor, I would reject the connection, but as mayor, of course, I never have enough resources to plant as many trees as I want, pave enough streets as I want, and to put as much into intervention and youth programs. Most social services don't exist with the city. They exist with the county, the state, and the federal government. But I'm very proud that this city that still has to pick up your trash, that still has to make sure there's an ambulance that comes when you call 911, has disproportionately stretched to do that work. For instance, homelessness, you heard the statistics and what's drive those homicides, is up 16-fold. Our homeless budget since I became mayor, 16-fold. We doubled it again, and doubled it again. So I will always take more resources. I'm working with this incoming administration to look at how we can get even more at the federal level in specific programs. I hope that in coming months we can announce. I hope we can get through some of the criminal justice bills like what Karen Bass wrote, et cetera. Those will bring dollars, not just policies forward. It will reward jurisdictions like us that have taken those reforms more quickly than other places. So I'm hoping we'll get more, but bottom line, this is the toughest budget year of our lives, full stop. Yeah. And so that we can expand anything when everything else is getting cut, I'm proud of.
To that point on homelessness, President Biden ordered FEMA to reimburse cities for 100% of what they spend on non-congregant shelters until 9/21. It had been 75%. Will you be advocating for the expansion of Project Room Key now that we know the county will get all their money back? Do you think the city should be commandeering hotels that are either vacant or still have homeless people in them? And what is your sense of why so many have closed Project Room Key sites?
So there's 4 questions there. Let me see if I can remember them all. Commandeering is very different than full reimbursement. They're not saying we can seize hotels and they'll pay for 100% of them. So that's a dollars and cents piece. We were able to get, I think, 12, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 11 from Project Home Key, of which we added 4 more with our own dollars, 15. For those out there, again, Project Room Key is temporary, Project Home Key is permanent. So absolutely, it was wonderful news. It was something that I lobbied this administration specifically about, and that 100% reimbursement, any hotel, and I'll say this out there, that wants to be added to this list, absolutely, we will move towards. But I want to be clear, too, FEMA dollars don't come in sometimes for a year and a half, 2 years. So there's a whole cash flow issue. We've lobbied at the state level, and glad to see in the proposed budget of the governor an expansion of Project Home Key as well. And in the meantime, while we still don't have tourists coming back and those hotel rooms and motel rooms available, absolutely, I'd love to see the county be able to continue to expand that, especially in the light of the lawsuit that we're both parties on. I think this is the time to act.
And I think we're gearing towards the end, but there are 3 questions from some of my peers I hope you can answer 2 and the chief can answer 1.
Sure.
The two for you are you concerned that new policies under DA Gascon, who you endorsed, including the removal of gang and other enhancements, might contribute to an increase in crime moving forward? And can you speak to the number of LA firefighters who have taken the vaccine sort of stalling out? I think there are a number who do not want the vaccine. How is your administration approaching that with your workforce?
I don't have the latest numbers. I can get them for you or whoever asked the question, so we'll make sure those get out to the press today. I know it was around 50% of the firefighters, and I think most of the ones that are out there in the field in a daily way. There are going to be folks who need to see that, who wanted to wait, and what I've heard from firefighters is there's kind of that peer pressure of, hey, didn't do anything, second shot, I'm still good. So I think there are some people that were waiting for that first round to go, and we expect that to be a steady trickle that will continue to get those numbers up to 2/3, 3/4, and that 3/4 is the magic number that the county is pushing for all folks. And I would just encourage every single firefighter, follow your union chief, follow your chief, their example, and get the vaccine. You're at that front of the line, you should. And we encourage you to do that. We're doing that, as I've always said, educate, encourage before you move to anything like enforcement. We're not looking at that third one right now. What was the first question again?
The DA.
Oh, look, I think somebody who's democratically elected needs to have the chance to implement policies. Hopefully we'll always do those carefully. It's clear that certain things are broken with how we've done criminal justice, and this whole press conference mirrors that we need to look at diversion ahead of just continuing to pay for people doing the same thing. I do share concern always that when we have money that's going towards diversion, it has to be well thought out, it has to be comprehensive. For instance, the dollars that we were supposed to have gained from Prop 47 that we're going to be put into all sorts of prevention, intervention, and diversion programs, it has been far too little. And we see that on the streets where people get out. As the chief said, there's no tool to kind of put somebody back into an institutional setting. Nobody wants somebody going away for 30 years for a gram of something too much. But whereas the housing, the job training, the mental health, those services still are not robust in my opinion. So if DA Gascon can be the voice to make those truly robust, I think that is the right track. I think that is exactly what we should be doing. It's a common ground. Instead of finding what we disagree on and creating a caricature before we even try policies, we should all be agreeing that there isn't enough going into that diversion. There isn't enough that's going into alternative places for people to get the help they need. And yes, you'll fail without those if people aren't locked up, and you'll fail just locking up people and hoping that when they get out, their lives will be changed.
And then one last one for the chief.
Yep.
And you can speak to this hyper-locally and also, I think, in the sense of the South Bureau and some of the central receiving a bulk of the crime. But from Albert Cerna from Boyle Heights Beat, do you have a plan to combat the shootings that have occurred almost every Saturday in Boyle Heights, and whether or not, and do you know whether or not they are gang-related? Also, have you found a connection between the rise in this gang activity and the COVID lockdown?
So, as the mayor, you tend to ask multiple part questions. So
trying to get a lot in here.
Yeah, I hear you. I got one question. Here's the 5 parts. So with that though, those are genuine and serious questions that Boyle Heights and South Los Angeles need to be asking right now. With this surge in shooting violence, what is our plan? How are we moving forward? Today was an example of trying to provide some of the announcement of the strategies to discuss. We are going to maintain our uniformed presence, our investigative resources to identify those responsible for gun violence and bring them before the criminal justice system. That's when we talked about the increased number of gun arrests. We are also, though, recognizing we're not going to arrest our way out of this. The presence of there's just too many guns on the street right now. So not just arresting those that are carrying the guns, but we're working with our federal partners and working with the U.S. Attorney as well as the District Attorney to hold responsible those that are bringing guns to the market. But that's the enforcement side. We need the community's help to identify that pathway. How are those guns getting into the hands of people? And the people that are pulling the triggers and committing this violence, we want to work with you anonymously, Crime Stoppers. You can identify yourself if you wish. We'll protect and do everything possible to ensure that the information you provide is meaningful and we can go out and remove violent offenders from the community. No one in any of this process wants that to go unaddressed. However, that's the right of the boom, if you will. That's the point now where we're dealing with consequences. What we're talking about here today is a commitment of ensuring that youth diversion, that matters of programming of social systems, jobs, housing, that there's alternatives so that people don't resort to a life of violence. So there's controls in a sense of, not a sense of helplessness or hopelessness, where people have something to live for. That's what Community Safety Partnership Bureau is about. Their individual efforts at that neighborhood level is to build the resilience of that community, to deal with minor conflicts in a more productive way, instead of people resorting to violence. When you see people going online and social media on Instagram and throwing insults that result in gang violence and deaths of people today, how do we stop that from occurring? Not that can we find the person responsible and bring them to the justice system. That's a loss. That's a heat sink of resources and a loss, lives lost, not just the person that was shot and potentially lost their life, but the person who committed that violence. So interceding that left of the boom, moving it to the point of how are our shared responsibility working in those engagements. And as a department, we stand committed that this realignment, if you will, or reimagining, is to call those resources and to really look to those resources to do their part. And I believe that people are stepping into that space, whether it's Boyle Heights, whether it's in South Los Angeles with Ceasefire, with Watts Gang Task Force. They're mobilizing their community to say, we will not stand for this violence, for this senselessness of people killing each other. It's not just a police matter. This is all of us, and we're committed to weathering through a pandemic that has destabilized so much of our institutions, so many of our communities. People have lost their every livelihood, every job, every social support system. These things do have an impact on the stability of a community, but we're there to help bring attention to it and help knit together a path forward that speaks to the point that we won't stand for it as a community, not just the police department. This isn't just us being a bully pulpit. Our communities are not going to stand. I was proud of the work in South Los Angeles in the community build last Friday. When they spoke, the community spoke about the need of all of us have in this responsibility to lower the temperature, to lower the disputes, and OGs or where they're at in the process, to get the youngsters that are out committing this and the others, and say, not here, not now. We're not going back to what we've seen in decades ago. That depends on, again, though, all of our attention. And as a chief, I'm proud of the work our men and women are doing in this, because it's not just an enforcement posture, it's a posture of problem solving, of how can we interdict this and prevent it from escalating to a point of violence and loss of life. Thank you.
And anything on Hollenbeck specifically, in terms of intervention on? Just want to get a specific answer on Boyle Heights. I don't know if there's anything with intervention.
We've added one ambassador over there, but we also have a deep bench of intervention workers in Hollenbeck continuing to work it, as well as 20 different prevention providers.
Okay. So Hollenbeck does have, on the prevention and gang intervention side, a pretty robust stable that's working right now, because most of the shootings are gang related. But we've also expanded an additional youth ambassador specifically there. Additional safety ambassador and interventionist in Hollenbeck in the Boyle Heights area. All right. Thank you, Kevin. If you have other ones, we'll try to get to folks offline, so just let us know. Feel free to leave the room or to stay. I'm going to speak in Spanish real quick as well. Muy buenos días a todos y gracias por estar aquí conmigo con el jefe Moore y la jefa del Comité de Seguridad Pública, la concejala Mónica Rodríguez, y todos los miembros del equipo de la seguridad pública aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles para revisar las estadísticas y estrategias de crimen y contra crimen del año 2020. Hoy seré directo. Tenemos buenas y malas noticias. Las buenas noticias primero. El crimen ha bajado en general en Los Ángeles en este año pasado, incluso en la mayoría de las categorías principales. Los delitos contra la propiedad han bajado un 11.1%. Los delitos violentos han bajado un 2.8%. El robado ha bajado un 17%. Y el crimen, incluyendo agresiones sexuales, robos y robos de vehículos, ha bajado un 9.2%. Sin embargo, igual a ciudades por todo el país, el año pasado vimos un aumento en dos categorías importantes: los homicidios subieron el 33.2% y el número de víctimas de disparo subió el 41.4%. Esto lo tomo muy en serio y les aseguro que vamos a cambiar esta tendencia. Y sé que lo podemos lograr porque tenemos una base muy fuerte aquí en Los Ángeles. Nuestra policía dedicada, nuestras fuertes alianzas y nuestro compromiso a la justicia y la equidad. El verano pasado creamos una nueva oficina para seguridad comunitaria, la cual aprovecha de las relaciones y confianza en la comunidad que son fundamentales para la seguridad pública. Y cuando notamos un aumento de homicidios, desplegamos a docenas de embajadores por la paz de nuestro programa de desarrollo juvenil y reducción de bandidas a las comunidades que sufren la peor violencia. El 2020 fue un año muy difícil, pero también fue un año con ejemplos de valor y generosidad. Y sé que juntos podemos seguir adelante por una ciudad más fuerte y segura. Gracias a los miembros de la comunidad, por ejemplo, el principal asistente Agustín Miña, y el trabajo en el Consejo Municipal, todos los miembros del Consejo Municipal, fue increíble para reducir el nivel del crimen en comunidades como Pakoimer con este programa de CSP. Y gracias a la concejala Mónica Rodríguez también. Okay, gracias. With that, thanks everybody.